Imagine walking through the streets of Tokyo late at night. The city is glowing with neon lights. Rain falls softly onto the pavement. Thousands of people move through the streets in silence. Everything feels calm, orderly, controlled. Japan is often seen as one of the safest and most disciplined countries in the world. But hidden beneath that image, there has always been another side of Japan, a darker side. A world controlled by fear, money, loyalty, and violence. For decades, an organization operated deep inside Japanese society, an organization feared by politicians, respected by criminals, and nearly impossible to destroy. They were called the Yakuza, the Japanese Mafia. Unlike criminal organizations in many other countries, the Yakuza didn't always hide from the public. Some groups had official offices, business cards, and even buildings with their names displayed outside. Members walked openly through Japanese cities, wearing expensive suits, dark sunglasses, and tattoos covering their entire bodies. To some people, they were dangerous criminals. To others, they were protectors. But behind the traditions and rituals was a brutal underground empire built on extortion, illegal gambling, smuggling, violence, and absolute loyalty. The story of the Yakuza begins hundreds of years ago, long before modern Tokyo existed. Back in the 1600s, Japan was changing rapidly. After centuries of war, the country finally entered a period of peace under the Tokugawa shogunate. For ordinary citizens, peace brought stability. But for thousands of samurai warriors, peace became a disaster. Many samurai suddenly lost their masters, their income, and their purpose. These masterless warriors became known as ronin. Some tried to survive honestly, others turned toward crime. At the same time, illegal gambling groups known as bakuto were spreading across Japan. The bakuto organized underground gambling games for workers, travelers, and poor citizens desperate for money. Another group, called tekiya, operated black markets and street trading businesses. Over time, these groups became more organized. They created strict hierarchies, family-like structures, and codes of loyalty. Leaders became known as oyabun, meaning father figure. Followers were expected to obey without question. This relationship became one of the foundations of Yakuza culture. Loyalty above everything. As the years passed, these criminal groups expanded throughout Japan. They controlled gambling houses, black markets, street businesses, and entire neighborhoods. Violence became part of their reputation, but so did discipline. The Yakuza began presenting themselves differently from ordinary criminals. Many members followed rituals inspired by samurai traditions, ceremonies, rules, honor codes. Some even believed they were protecting traditional Japanese values during times of social change. But beneath that image was a growing criminal empire. An empire that understood one important truth. Real power doesn't come only from violence. It comes from influence, from fear, from money, and from becoming so deeply connected to society that nobody can remove you. And over time, the Yakuza became exactly that, a hidden empire inside Japan itself. As Japan entered the modern era, the Yakuza began growing faster than ever before. What once started as scattered gambling groups and street gangs slowly transformed into a powerful underground network, and with every passing decade, their influence expanded. Japan's cities were developing rapidly, factories were opening, construction projects appeared everywhere, money flowed through the country like never before, and wherever there was money, the Yakuza found opportunity. They moved into construction businesses, shipping companies, nightclubs, bars, and entertainment districts. Some groups controlled illegal gambling operations. Others focused on smuggling, blackmail, loan sharking, and underground deals. Over time, the Yakuza became closely connected to parts of Japan's economy. But what made them truly dangerous was not only intimidation, it was their organization. Each Yakuza clan operated like a structured family. At the very top stood the Oyaban, the boss. Below him were loyal followers known as Kobun. The relationship between them was treated almost like father and son. The boss provided protection, resources, and direction. In return, members gave complete loyalty. Questioning orders was rare. Inside the Yakuza, respect meant everything. Members followed strict rituals and traditions. One of the most famous was the Sakazuki ceremony, where members exchanged cups of sake to symbolize loyalty and brotherhood. But life inside the Yakuza was far from glamorous. Punishments were strict. Mistakes could lead to serious consequences, loss of status, or harsh discipline. One of the most well-known traditions was a ritual called yubitsume. If a member betrayed the organization or caused major problems, he was expected to sacrifice part of his finger as a sign of apology. It was a shocking practice that showed complete submission to the clan. Over time, the Yakuza developed a reputation unlike any other criminal organization in the world. They mixed tradition with discipline, authority with loyalty, and crime with ceremony. By the mid-1900s, the Yakuza had become extremely powerful across Japan. Entire neighborhoods fell under their influence. Some officials were pressured, businessmen secretly cooperated with them, and many politicians avoided confronting them directly. During Japan's economic boom in the 1980s, the Yakuza reached the peak of their influence. Money flooded the country. Real estate prices exploded. Corporations grew richer every year, and the Yakuza earned massive profits behind the scenes. Some reports estimated there were more than 180,000 Yakuza members across Japan during this period. Their influence spread into finance, real estate, construction, and entertainment. Some groups even operated openly from offices in major cities. At night, members in expensive suits walked through Tokyo's neon streets, appearing almost untouchable. To ordinary citizens, they became symbols of fear and mystery. But despite their wealth and power, the Yakuza never abandoned their old traditions. Many members covered their bodies with elaborate tattoos known as irezumi. These tattoos often took years to complete and symbolized loyalty, pride, and commitment. The tattoos became one of the most recognizable symbols of the Yakuza world. And perhaps the strangest thing about the organization was how normal it sometimes appeared. No masks, no hidden underground bases, just ordinary-looking men walking through crowded Japanese streets, hiding a powerful criminal empire behind perfectly tailored suits. But power never lasts forever. By the 1990s, Japan was beginning to change, and for the first time in decades, the Yakuza started losing control. The Japanese government finally decided to fight back against organized crime more aggressively than ever before. New anti-gang laws targeted the Yakuza's businesses, their finances, and their public presence. Police began cracking down on criminal organizations across the country. Banks were forbidden from working with known Yakuza members. Companies cut ties with them. Landlords refused to rent apartments to them. Even opening a bank account became difficult for many gang members. Suddenly, life inside the Yakuza was no longer glamorous. The organization that once operated almost openly was now being pushed into the shadows. At the same time, Japanese society itself was changing. Younger generations no longer respected the old Yakuza traditions. The image of honor and loyalty began disappearing. To many young people, the Yakuza looked outdated, dangerous, and pointless. Membership numbers started collapsing. The massive criminal empire that once had over 180,000 members slowly began shrinking year after year. Some clans disappeared completely. Others became smaller and weaker. And modern technology created even bigger problems for organized crime. Surveillance cameras spread across Japanese cities. Financial transactions became easier to track. Police gained new tools to monitor criminal activity. The Yakuza could no longer operate the way they once had. But even as their influence declined, they did not vanish completely. Some groups adapted to the modern world. Instead of street violence, they moved into cybercrime, financial fraud, and hidden business operations. Others became quieter, avoiding public attention entirely. Today, the Yakuza still exists inside Japan, smaller than before, more secretive, but still dangerous. And despite decades of police pressure, the organization continues surviving in the shadows of Japanese society. Perhaps because the Yakuza was never just a gang. It became part of Japan's history itself, a strange combination of crime, tradition, discipline, and fear. An organization built on ancient loyalty, yet fueled by modern greed. For many people around the world, the Yakuza remains fascinating because it feels almost unreal. A mafia organization with rituals, ceremonies, strict codes, and deep connections to samurai culture. A criminal empire that openly existed for generations inside one of the most advanced countries on Earth. And maybe that's what makes the story so disturbing. The idea that beneath the bright lights of Tokyo, behind the crowded train stations, luxury offices, and peaceful streets, another world still exists. A hidden world most people never see. A world where loyalty is absolute, where betrayal can destroy lives, and where the shadows of the old Yakuza still remain. Somewhere tonight, under the neon lights of Japan, those shadows are still watching.